this new studio vlog update. In this mid-February, I wanted to share with you a bit all the things I've been working on these past days and all the little projects, different things I'm doing in the studio right now. I hope you are enjoying this end of winter. Right now over here it's very sunny. Unfortunately, we didn't have some snow yet, and I don't really believe we are going to have. We will see what March unfolds, but for now I'm making the most of these beautiful sunny days, which is really nice and pleasant to work on my desk on the different things I'm doing. Sometimes winter can be very dark, and to work sometimes can be a bit difficult with the very short winter days, but as we are getting closer to March, the sunshine is coming again inside the studio little by little. It's not on my desk yet, but it's making some progress. Right now I'm exploring some old French fairy tales from the 17th and the 18th century, from Le Cabinet des Fées and from Charles Perrault. You are going to see that for different projects I'm working on, and you are going to see them unfold in the upcoming weeks and months. I'm working on Donkey Skin, several other fairy tales which have a related theme than Donkey Skin. You're going to see, to discover that soon. I'm doing some drawing, some sculpting, some studying, all sort of things I love, all inspired by these old fairy tales. So by Charles Perrault, Le Conte de Caylus, Madame d'Aulnoy, and I think there will be something by Mademoiselle de la Force, we will see. And I'm very pleased to go back to old fairy tales, to Donkey Skin, which is a very famous French fairy tale, which hopefully has not been turned into a massive production recently, which is really a good thing. And I'm not sure it will be, because there are a lot of themes in these old fairy tales which are not working with our modern way of seeing the world. Especially Disney wouldn't like Donkey Skin. He would have to rewrite it entirely, because it's a fairy tale about incest. It's a king father who wants to marry his daughter, which is kind of a problem. So it's nice that it has been left by the massive productions. I bought a new writing slate for the studio because I love making lists when I work, and I use a lot of paper lists, I use a lot of paper notepads, but I love the sound of chalk pen on the slate, and I just love to have a slate as an organization tool on my desk, because it also reminds me of happy years of school. I have just received this book, another book of the fairy tales by Charles Perrault, but it is a special edition. It's the reason I ordered it. It is from 1826, so pretty early edition of the Charles Perrault fairy tales. And here there is a nice portrait of Charles Perrault and some illustration of the different fairy tales. But what is interesting, it is a pre-Gustave Doré illustration. So Gustave Doré is one of the French illustrators, engraver, who has really been extremely important in the history of illustrations and in the way you perceive these famous fairy tales, Little Red Riding Hood, Sleeping Beauty, all that. Disney also has been very much inspired by this aesthetic made by Gustave Doré. And these illustrations are interesting because they are before all this mid-19th century aesthetic. So you have, for example, Cendrillon here. She's very different from what you would expect. They are all dressed in sort of Napoleonic clothes, pretty much, or we can't really see the century, but definitely not 19th century. Here, Cinderella, you see this character is not very... Yes, it could be a sort of mix of Napoleonic style with a bit of 17th century. Donkey skin here, Peau, Puss in Boots, as you can see, with the mill behind. Quite interesting to have it here. Sleeping Beauty, interesting, there is no castle in the illustration. There is just a character, a classic Greek style, which is sleeping, so very, very different from what you know. Barbe Bleue, blue beard. He seems to have a beard. It's not very clear if he has one. I think he has one, but it's very, very small. It doesn't really look like the idea we have of blue beard, but that's fun. And she's still dressed with a sort of empire Greek style. It's really, really unusual to see. Little Red Riding Hood also with an empire Napoleonic dress. And the little wolf. And here Le Petit Poucet, which this one is, I'm not sure it has been adapted by Grimm, the Brothers Grimm, but it's a very famous one by Charles Perrault also, who is going to walk with his very giant boots. And the fairy godmother, who is really, really unusual. And this is the beautiful dress. I'm not sure, is it her beautiful dress or her cleaning when she's doing the cleaning and all that. It's Cinderella, at least. You wouldn't suspect it's Cinderella here, but it's her. So pretty unusual. So I bought it for many reasons. First, it was €25 for all that, which is not normal price for this, because there is all the fairy tales of Charles Perrault, of course, so all those, but also his own memoirs, which I was looking to read for a long, long time. So I was super pleased to have them. They are very short, they are not super long. I've just started to read them, and I know I'm going to love them. And few other texts, of course, a lot of poetry, because in the 17th century, you always have some things in verses. He had some stories entirely in verses, which are less famous now, of course, but I'm going to read them too. It gives, yes, a very much wider vision of his writing, not only the fairy tales, which is just a slight and very small part of his life, but you will see that in another video. I'm not going to spoil my upcoming videos coming, but I was really interested and really pleased to receive this one. For another reason, it's sort of edited and organized and presented by Colin de Plancy. And Colin de Plancy, if you have watched my Halloween videos from 2 years ago, I mentioned him because he wrote a very famous Dictionnaire Infernal, and he wrote a lot of books about vampires, demons, witches. He did a lot of researches about all that, which I would hope to find at some point, but they are very expensive. All these very specific books about demons and witches, all that from the 17th or later centuries, they are super expensive, so I couldn't find them yet, but I was really pleased to find him here, that he's the person who put all this edition together, and he also does some presentation of each fairy tale with some explanations and historical explanation of each fairy tale, which is so interesting. So I'm really pleased. And we also have the dédicace, what Charles Perrault wrote before he published these fairy tales, so in 1797. So super interesting, really very important book for me to have in my collection of books about old fairy tales, with the really nice original edition too. So super pleased. And also it's fun because they wrote Charles Perrault, so he was born in the early 17th century, de l'Académie Française. It's one of the very few fairy tale books where they really specify de l'Académie Française, which you usually do even now today. In the 21st century, when a writer belongs to l'Académie Française, it has to appear under each book they publish, but as he's so famous and all that, for the children edition they would not worry to add this, so it was just a cool little nice detail to have with this nice writing. But yes, he belonged to l'Académie Française, which is the French institution for writers, which had been created in the 17th century and still exists today. And another thing too is I had a little drawing made by the ink and the quill, the same character, who probably the same person who wrote here. So it was just fun to have a little face painted, probably when the book was published, I suppose, or something like that. So, fun little thing to discover. There are always nice things to discover in old books anyway.
Donkey Skin in progress. I didn't finish everything, of course, yet. I'm only focusing for now on the front because this is what I need. I'm not going to finish the back at once. I want first my first projects to have the front and the sides totally finished, and I plan to have a few kitchen accessories around her. The Donkey Skin is a very famous fairy tale by Charles Perrault, and I'm also reading right now one of the very recent biography which have been done. So this is the father of fairy tales in France, and he has written all the most famous fairy tales, you know, like Little Red Riding Hood, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty. Well, about 120 years before the Grimm brothers, so it's always nice to remember that. And I will have, as I say, a video about him specifically to introduce him, because in France he's just the superstar of fairy tales. I still have some work to do on the donkey, on his legs, a bit on the back and at the bottom of the dress. And behind there is Blue Cat, Chat Bleu, and Chat Bleu doesn't belong to Sleeping Beauty or to any of Charles Perrault's fairy tale. He belongs to Madame d'Aulnoy's fairy tale, to Le Prince Lutin, and he's also part of another project that you are going to discover. So he's not totally finished yet, and he will also have fun things in front of him, other accessories and fun things, and drawings too. So you will see that unfold a bit later. In the evening recently, I've been back to my sewing, and I'm finishing right now the very first dress I have ever started, which is rather an autumn dress, but I still plan to wear it for spring and for the mid-season. And I also have a new apron in progress, which is going to fit me better when I work and protect my clothes a little better than the ones I had, which are all really old and worn out. Thank you very much for watching this little update. I'm going to continue to dive into the 17th century and my favorite storytellers, and continue to read all the memoirs and the writing of Charles Perrault, working on all the different projects you have seen, a lot of drawings, and you're going to see how all this turned out in a few weeks. I'm really pleased to work on all this and to learn to know this very important writer much better. It's a bit a shame I didn't know more earlier. I know vaguely his life, but not precisely. So I'm really pleased to learn more about his memoirs and his life and how they are connected to his fairy tales, which are so important. So it's really a delight to dive into this period and to these fairy tales. I wanted to ask if you have purchased my printable stationery. I wanted to ask you if you have already sent some letters, used the writing paper and the envelopes which goes with the printable stationery. You also receive 2 cards when you get it, but if you did it, what were the reactions of those you have sent these letters to? Were they happy? If it was friends, family members, or I don't know who else, were they happy to receive and to find out your letter in their mailbox, as it's pretty rare these days? So I was just curious and wondering if you already have written. I know some ladies told me they already have written some letters and used the writing paper, but I would be just happy to know if your correspondents were delighted to receive your letters with this different paper you have in the collection. And you can find all the details about the printable stationery just under this video. The winter collection is available till March 25, so you have a few more weeks to get it if it's your cup of tea, and if you like stationery in general, writing letters, cards, because you also receive 2 cards in the flesh when you get it. You have all the details just under this video. You can give a thumbs up if you appreciated what you saw, and you can subscribe if you don't want to miss all the nice videos coming. Thank you very much. I will see you very soon.